Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Nichols, the product lead for Elastic Security. And I'm really excited today to talk to you about democratizing security. And really this idea that Elastic can help to arm every analyst everywhere with enterprise-grade security. Towards the end of my presentation, I'll also be joined by Braden Preston, who's a director of product management on my team for Endpoint Security. We'll do a deeper demo about what it means to provide really powerful endpoint security for everyone everywhere. So, a challenge that's really plagued the industry and really kind of plagued me for a long time is this fact that users can't seem to access the quality security they need everywhere. For many, many years, I've been in this industry. I was a defender for a long time, and I've also, been part of product teams building enterprise-grade products. I was lucky because I was building those products. I get to bring them home and have, professional grade security for my family. But if I wasn't the case where I had that, how would I protect my family, my kids against, the cyber threats that seem to be spawning everywhere now, right? They're not just targeting these large organizations, they're hitting everyone. And, if you look across the market, this kind of free or inexpensive security that is available to most users comes with a cost, right? Sometimes it comes with, people kind of jokingly call it maybe bloatware. It comes with sort of added things you don't want, or it doesn't come with really quality security capabilities. And so how can we get that enterprise grade power that we give to these large Fortune companies and provide it to everyone? Because the security threat is not only targeting large enterprises, it's hitting everybody in the world. And there's kind of two core challenges that I've seen throughout the years. And the first is these enterprise security capabilities typically require you to engage with an enterprise sales team. And, they have a limited amount of time. So if you call them from your house and say, hey, I'd love to see your product, they typically say, well, what's your budget? And most of us don't have enterprise budgets at our house to arm ourselves with quality security. And, it's an unfortunate necessity that those teams then don't prioritize talking to small businesses or medium-sized businesses or even home users about how to empower them with this quality security. And the second thing is, even if you get your hands on it, right? Even if you found a way to get that enterprise grade security into your home or into your small business, they're really built for like the business user, right? You've heard the term B2B or business to business type applications that aren't really built in the modern way that you look and kind of utilize your kind of SaaS applications you have now, the ones that you log in on the internet and utilize for banking or communications. They aren't built with that same aesthetic and same workflow. They're built with sort of a business layer on it. And it's challenging for a team that doesn't have security expertise, or someone who's wearing the IT hat and also wearing the sort of support team hat and many others, to also learn this security practice, this business security layer. And so it's gated them from access to really powerful technologies. And that's bothered me, obviously, because I've seen the trends across the world where every day there's a new article about a new attack that's hit a new business. And it feels like it's Sisyphus pushing his boulder up the hill, where we're just constantly pushing against this massive trend of the adversaries getting their financial advantage they have over us. And the only way to really be secure is to lift everyone up. It's the age-old saying that a rising tide lifts all boats. Everyone needs access to security so that we can secure and provide this baseline layer across the world. So there are less systems to compromise that can be used in these kind of attacks across the world. And Elastic is uniquely positioned to help with this. Elastic can really help solve this challenge that is plaguing people. As I was looking through different areas and kind of doing different research, I came across the U.S. Small Business Association recently did an analysis where 88% of the respondents, the small business owners, said they feel vulnerable to cyber attack. No matter how you slice statistics, I'm a mathematician by trade, so I know statistics can be misinterpreted sometimes, but no matter how you look at statistics, 88% is a big percent, right? It's a big part of the whole. It's hard to misinterpret what 88% means. So a large majority of these small business owners are saying, look, we don't know if we can protect ourselves. And it's probably due to a challenge in people, process, and technology. They probably don't have a security operations center, I would imagine, or even a security leader, right? They probably, again, have that IT person who's also doing security, or they might even have a contractor helping them based on the size of their business. Processes, they definitely don't have the training and learning and expertise in how to run a security operations center because they don't have that center to begin with. And as we talked about with technology, they get the best of what they can access. And unfortunately, their access has been gated because of the business practices for most enterprise security companies. So how can we fix this? How can we help these businesses, right? How can we help sort of the vast majority, if you were to build this pyramid of businesses, the big base of these small businesses that need our help, of home users that need our help, of medium-sized businesses that need our help. How can we help them? In Elastic, well, I was really proud. I came from the Endgame team. So if you're not familiar with Endgame, we joined forces with Elastic just about 2 years ago. And we built an endpoint security product. It was in this enterprise side where we were, distributing and selling to these large companies. And what was really exciting and almost you'd have these dreams about how great it could be was that Elastic has this free distribution layer, this model to provide powerful capabilities to every user everywhere. And we thought about what it would be like to provide enterprise grade security, like what we had developed at Endgame, in a place that was available for everyone, where you could just download this and use it. Anybody anywhere could download and have this kind of capability. And it was kind of empowering, right? To think about that mission and it became a core mantra of our team, where across Elastic Security, we speak about our mission being to protect the world's data from attack. And the only way to protect the world's data is to be accessible to the world. And that's really what the Elastic distribution, the openness that is Elastic, provides us. It's this open ability for everyone. And then we have this capability to grow with you in your organization. So as you need more capabilities that might be more, business centric or scaled centric, we have an ability to grow with you through our subscription tiers. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we move on. So this is really the crux of Elastic. If you don't really understand how Elastic goes to market, this is it. We have sort of two halves of a coin here. We have our layer, which is sort of our starter layer, which we call basic for our self-managed, which is self-managed means you can download and install it yourself. And standard, which is our initial distribution in our cloud offering, our managed SaaS offering. And it is meant to be a very accessible layer. It's free to download and run it yourself on your own servers, and it's very inexpensive as a starting point for a SaaS offering. And the core part of basic and standard is that for every solution within Elastic, especially for security, all of our product is included. The XDR product, and I'll talk more about XDR and what that means in a minute, is included. There are different capabilities that will go in these other tiers, which we'll speak about, but the ability to do SIEM functionality, endpoint security functionality, cloud protection functionality is all in that layer. What that means is if you're a home user, if you're a small business, you actually can get the power of what enterprises are accessing in your location, which I think is just such a powerful and empowering statement for people. And then we have Gold, Platinum, and Enterprise, which are our subscription tiers above that basic standard layer, which each includes additional layers of capabilities that grow with your business. So as you get more security expertise and realize that you want to also delve into the world of sort of customized machine learning to find unknown threats, or you need advanced role-based access controls because now you have a team with many people accessing the system. We have those capabilities in those subscription tiers, which you can grow into very easily in the product, just moving your way up the tier, and so that we can naturally grow as your business grows and provide more functionality and more value to you as your business requires it. And what we're providing is, as I mentioned, Limitless XDR. And this is, again, security loves acronyms. You'll hear a lot of acronyms being thrown at you constantly. XDR is one of the newest ones. You can kind of put an asterisk in front of DR. There's so many different, there's EDR and MDR and everything DR out there. What XDR is trying to say is that detection and response, which is the D and the R, is a necessary capability of any product in your security suite. And what X is really meant to be is almost like a variable for anything. It stands for extended, but what it's really trying to say is that, look, if it's endpoint data, if it's network data, if it's authentication data, whatever is coming in, you should have a way to do detection and response across that information. And that's the power of Elastic. Limitless is our unique capability on top of that, which is really taking the power of our community, the power of our open distribution model, the power of core functionality we have, like things like limitless data with our searchable snapshots, to provide some strong differentiation, again, that grows with your business over time. And for us, Limitless XDR starts, the heart of this entire thing is SIEM. And SIEM, might sound daunting to some people. SIEM has a long history in security, and sometimes I think it was wrought with this idea that it was difficult. The way I like to think of SIEM is more of a sort of the central operating system of your team. It is the central layer, the heartbeat of where your data lives. It's the central collection point. We also speak of SIEM in a similar language. We say security analytics. This idea that I'm going to take my data into one place, and then I'm going to sift through it and find the needle in that stack of needles, find the core problem that exists. And that's what we offer in that SIEM functionality. And in that exact same interface, we also have a native endpoint. And that's so important because SIEMs classically were very passive. They were made to collect data, tell you about a problem, but they didn't have the R, the ability to respond to the threat. And that doesn't help anybody. Right? If I can't stop the problem, that doesn't really help me. Endpoint security, a native endpoint, allows me to prevent problems and respond to problems. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And finally, cloud. I think all of us have been part of this rapid transformation, rapid acceleration into cloud over the past few years, where more and more of our infrastructure is moving into cloud workloads. More of our workload is being used on cloud systems. Our communication, our documentation, our email is all moving into SaaS systems and SaaS environments. That cloud security also requires a layer of protection because those are just computers in somebody else's building. They still require protection as much as the computers in your building do as well. And again, all these are combined in that single solution called Elastic Security. To dive a little bit deeper, right? This is a little bit deeper into the functionality that we offer. And the two core things I want you to look at when you look at this slide are the outer columns. And the reason is these are really new for Elastic. We've had detection, we've had collection for a long time. Elastic has been the best place to analyze and collect your data for many years. What we haven't had is that first-party way to prevent problems, a first-party way to respond to problems. We've integrated into other people's products. We have a ton of those still, of course. We really pride ourselves on our partnerships and our ecosystem. But a first-party way means you don't have to buy 2 or 3 other products to make this solution work. You can utilize what Elastic Security already has. We have a powerful new functionality that came out recently called Elastic Agent, which I'll explain more about in a following slide. But before I get to the how with Elastic Agent, I want to explain the what. What do we accomplish? So in prevention, we're really targeting those problems that are hitting the majority of people out there. Malware and ransomware. I think you can't open a news now without seeing ransomware attacking someone, unfortunately. So powerful capabilities. Memory threat protection, which is a layer of protection into memory to stop even more of these advanced attacks. We've released recent capabilities around behavioral preventions that cover even deeper across the attack lifecycle on every OS of Mac, Windows, and Linux. And on the response side, tons of powerful capabilities there. One of the really core ones that I love is host isolation. This is a one-button lockdown of the system that stops communication. And why that's so important is if you're not sure, if you think something bad is happening, you can lock that system down. And that means the adversary can't steal any data. They can't destroy data. They can't ransom data while you investigate what that problem might be. And if there's no problem, you can hit another button and release it back and it's back to normal. It's sort of a non-destructive way to be really sure there isn't a problem hitting your organization. Again, all those things are available directly in Elastic Agent. And you might be asking yourself, well, what the heck is Elastic Agent? Well, it's a relatively new capability from us. It is a single unified installer that we've released that allows us to essentially manage data collection at scale with hundreds of one-click integrations. And if you've been following Elastic over the years, you might be familiar with things like beats, file beat, metric beat, heartbeat, winlog beat, and the endpoint security integration. All these things are now available via Agent with one-click integrations. So think about the use case here where I have Agent installed on my Mac system and I realize, oh, I really wish I was collecting deeper Mac logs. Sure, click a button, you got them. If we're on Linux and you say, I wish I was getting Nginx data, click a button and you now are collecting Nginx. But even better with security, if you want to stop malware on Linux, click a button, and now we're preventing malware on your Linux system for you automatically. So the ability for you to centrally manage and modify policy at scale across your organization or on the one system in your house or the 2 systems in your family or the 3 systems in your small business, you can centrally manage that instantly with Elastic Security, which I think is such a powerful new capability that we have. And on top of that, it's also really, really good. It's certified by people like AV Comparators and OpsSWAT on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux to be an anti-malware product for those solutions. So if you want to stop malware, if you want to stop ransomware, it's a really great way for you to get started in the broader security offerings that Elastic Security has to provide for you. And just sort of a quick snapshot of what's really there. There's a lot of stuff in sort of the endpoint security details here. And I want to center your eyes on the standard basic, that green line, because when I talk about democratizing security, I really am talking about what's available in that free or inexpensive layer, that standard or basic layer, because that's what's accessible to the most people in the world. And there's a ton of power there. As I mentioned, we provide end-to-end capabilities in that layer to really stop problems. Malware and ransomware is included there. Deep data collection and integrations there. Things like our OS query management, which is an ad hoc data collection, is available there. Case management, all these other pieces are available in that tier. And as I mentioned, as your business grows, as you have a need for things like advanced ransomware, so you already have ransomware prevention in the basic and standard tiers, but if you want to get additional advanced prevention, sort of the defense in depth, or as I like to say, the belt and suspenders approach to security, that's available as we move up into our platinum tiers. Things like additional response actions and memory protection, all the way up into our enterprise tier, we unlock the power of limitless data. So if you become an organization that needs months and years of that historical data analysis, you have that data available for you, we can do that too. We can instantly provide you that growth mechanism to get there. So again, you can start sort of free or inexpensively, very easily, and then we can grow with your business as you grow over time. And I think, I've talked a lot about sort of what it is, but nothing is better than actually seeing it in action. Braden Preston, as I mentioned, who's the director of this endpoint security side for us, is going to do a deep dive demo here now, kind of highlighting the power that Elastic Security offers, walking it through a use case where an analyst is stopping a threat, responding to a threat, seeing what happened, doing root cause analysis. And again, this is all available to you in that, that standard distribution in cloud, the basic distribution in our self-managed service. And I just think it's so powerful. You can click the button today in cloud and get started with a 14-day free trial, and very quickly go from maybe next to no security to being extremely secure with enterprise grade technology using the power of Elastic. So I hope you enjoy the demo. Braden, please take it away.
Thanks, Mike. And hi, everyone. I'm Braden Preston. And as Mike mentioned, I'm our Director of Product Management for our Endpoint Security solution. And I'm really excited to demo for you today the exciting capabilities that we deliver through Elastic Agent with the Endpoint Security integration to be able to protect your hosts from attack, whether those hosts are Linux systems, whether those hosts are Windows systems, or whether those hosts are Mac OS systems. A single agent has the ability, once configured with Elastic Endpoint Security, to stop attacks before damage and loss can occur. And I'll start that demo talking about Elastic Agent and all the amazing integrations that we have that we're able to deliver through Elastic Agent. So you can see here, there are hundreds upon hundreds of integrations that with a single click can be added to your agent to collect logs, whether you see here on the system, your F5 monitoring logs, logs from your cloud. But I'm going to drill in specifically on our Endpoint Security integration and show you how that's configured within the security application to protect your hosts. So we'll dive right into the security application, and I'll jump straight to our endpoints where I've already configured a handful of hosts with our Endpoint Security integration to allow you to see what those look like. So on this particular system, I have a Windows server, Windows endpoint, and a Linux endpoint as well. And I'm going to focus on the Linux capabilities for this particular demo, where I'll show you kind of the interaction that we have in configuring policy and changing policies, et cetera. Before we dive into the policies, I'll just note the left-hand side menu where we'll navigate throughout this piece in the portion of the demo here. But you see where we can give you an overview of the environment. We'll dig into some alerts and how we can analyze and allow you to understand the full extent of an attack. We'll look at our timelines and investigations. And then finally, I will convert our policy, which is currently in detect, and I'll show you what that looks like, into a prevention mode, and then show you us preventing the malicious attack on this Linux server. So let's go ahead and dive into the policy. So the policy that I've configured here, Security PA, is in detect mode, and you can see all of the capabilities that we offer to protect you from attack. At the very top, we have our machine learning malware prevention capability that is able to stop known and unknown malware and ransomware variants. We have a behavioral ransomware protection that not only protects about behaviors that ransomware typically exhibits, like encrypting files, et cetera, but it also adds on 3 additional layers of ransomware protection. We have the ability to protect the master boot record. It leverages our machine learning that I talked about before to stop known and unknown samples of ransomware. And finally, we leverage a canary file capability to provide that added layer of protection. And we can see those canary files being tampered with and then stop that ransomware before further damage and loss can occur. We have the ability to stop memory attacks or memory threats. So stopping attackers from injecting shellcode inside of a process and hide from most security products. We have the ability to stop process hollowing and process doppelganging and those sorts of attacks right here with our memory threat protection capability. And then we also have the ability to stop malicious behaviors. And this is looking at behaviors that attackers typically exhibit when they're on the host, trying to move laterally trying to leverage common programs like PowerShell or WMI to execute their malicious activity. We can identify that malicious activity and then stop it again before damage and loss. So all of these layers of protections keep your hosts, whether they're Linux, Mac OS, or Windows, protected from attack. So that's what the policy looks like here. And I'm going to turn this into prevent here in a little bit. But before I do that, I want to jump over to our alerts. And with our alerts, you'll see that you have a nice trend line that shows you everything that happened within the system on the current time period that I'm looking at. And I'm looking at approximately a week's worth of time here for my system. And because I ran it before the demo, you see a number of alerts in that detection policy that we identified on this. And that's that ransomware sample that I talked about earlier, the Rebel ransomware. So we detected that it was running. It comes with a high or a critical severity, depending on the nature of the attack and when we found it. And you can see the file names here. The latest that we did, I did a detection when I tried to copy the file over. So all of these alerts, they give you that really good picture of the attack, but you need to be able to analyze this a little bit more. You need to understand a few things. One, how did this attack start? And then what is the overall extent of the damage? And within the security solution, we provide you the tools that allow you to do that. So let's go ahead and dig in on this first, or this detection alert here. And just like I mentioned, you'd be able to analyze that event. So I can analyze that event. So what this will do is draw me a process tree of everything that happened and accredit it to the appropriate user that was doing it. So you can see the full chain of events that happened all the way through that copy, that detection alert that we talked about before. We highlight the alert for you. So this will allow you to identify the steps that an attacker may have taken in order to get on the system, and then allow you to build your full remediation and or response plan. And we can make this full screen as appropriate. You can navigate the full tree. You can get some pretty wide and some pretty long trees. You need to be able to navigate that whole thing, and we give you the tools to do that as well. In addition to that analyzer view, you also have the ability with the power of Elastic to generate a timeline of these events. So if I want to start seeing, exactly what happened on this particular system, and I'll go to that same detection alert and start to begin to look at it in a timeline sort of view, this will then render all of the events for me in a way that me as a junior analyst, a level 1, maybe even a level 2 analyst, can understand exactly what happened. And we pretty print that in a very nice sentence format. So what this is telling me is that user Braden P, that happens to be me in this case, on the host name, was detected trying to modify a malicious file, and it gives the location of that file, and I was using a copy. And that it allowed me to do that because, again, this policy was in a detect mode. So it was an allow and monitor sort of state for these sorts of things. And now what I also have the ability to do is maybe I want to know everything else that that user Braden Preston did on the system. So I can add Braden to the query here. And then I want to remove the event ID as well. And then it'll tell me everything that Braden did while he was accessing the system. It'll tell me, did he try to copy other files? Did he try to delete files? Was Braden doing other malicious activity on the system in order to maybe take other action or to move further along in an attack? Maybe Braden's a malicious insider or something to that effect. So just one more step here in this demonstration that I'll show you. And just to show you that this policy is in fact in a detect mode, I'll go ahead and run that same copy command that we did before. I'll change the file name so that we don't overwrite ourselves. And you'll see that that copy is now allowed. So if you take a look here, you'll see now that there are 3 files as opposed to the previous 2. With the new file, I just created xmrig2.sh. So I was allowed to copy. If I go back over to my system into those alerts, you will see that I have a new detection alert that has come in. So I detected again that we tried to copy that particular that particular alert, and then we'll change my timeline so that you can see it. So I'll just look at everything that's happened today to kind of neck down and in on that particular area. But you'll notice that we allowed that activity to happen. So that's this malware detection alert that you see here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over to our policy. And I'm going to change that policy from detect, which is what it's in currently, into prevent. And then we are going to prevent that malicious activity from happening. And I'll note while I'm here is that on all of our systems, when we prevent malicious activity, you have the ability to provide that end user who's on the system a notification. That notification is completely customizable to allow you to put whatever message you need. If you want them to contact your help desk or your system administrator, you can add that contact info right then and there in the system. And so I'll save this policy now that it's in prevent mode, and it tells me it's going to update that host, that Linux host that we were talking about. And then I'll save and deploy the changes. As I go back to the endpoint screen, you will see that that policy is now out of date as it's updating. And then once it updates, it will return to being in a green and healthy state. It'll no longer say that it's out of date. And so really we give you that feedback, that real-time feedback for you as a desktop administrator or your security administrator to know what exactly is going on your system and what's happening with these endpoints. Are they healthy? Are they unhealthy? And now you can see that that policy is back to being up to date. So I will scroll back over to my Linux server. So here I'm SSH into that same Linux server, and I'm going to try to execute that same command. So I'm going to try to execute the copy from XMRIG4 to now XMRIG, well, we'll just call it XMRI32. And as I try to make that copy, you will see that it cannot open the file for reading. The operation is not permitted, so that copy failed. And now if I look at my listing, you will see that that XMRG4 has now been quarantined. So we identified that file as malicious on this Linux system, leveraging our our malware prevention on Linux capabilities. And not only do we identify it as malware, we prevent that copy, and we quarantine that file and put it in a safe quarantine store so that it can't be tampered with or modified by a user or an attacker at a later date. And then finally, I will come back to my alerts screen from today, and then you will see, once it runs through and comes here, you'll see a malware prevention alert showing you we prevented that copy and that it wasn't successful. Really exciting capabilities here with the endpoint security solution. And I'll make a few plugs here as we're going to these particular policies. So these are configured with the security policy. We have other configurations on the security solution that are incredibly valuable. We have fully instrumented and orchestrated OS query. So you have the ability to put a search box on your host and begin to treat your host like a database and query those, all managed directly from Elastic. So all the data is there and resides and builds visualizations for you. We also have the ability to collect Windows event logs, Linux security logs, all the robust data collection you would need for an endpoint detection and response capability as well, all built within this same solution. So that concludes the demo. And I want to conclude this talk by a little call to action here. Please engage with us, learn more about what we're doing, learn about our modern SIEM. Try this for free. Go download the system or log into cloud. Really easy to set up in cloud, and begin to try this for yourself. Test your own malware samples. Use OS query to query the hosts, and then engage with us here at Elasticon in our community Slack, in our Discuss forums. We're really excited to hear from you and get your feedback. And enjoy the rest of Elasticon. Make sure you check out all the great talks we have available, and take care. Thank you very much.